Howdy folks, hope you're all having a great one, and welcome to the Salt Mines Discord Q&A for December. This will be the last, well obviously the last Q&A of the year, not quite the last Mingles with Jingles of the year, although I'll be announcing my plans for my Christmas break very, very shortly. We've got some really good announcements to make this time around, and of course if you couldn't make it to the Discord on time for the live Q&A, then welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles, because that's what this will be going out as on Monday. So before we get started, like I said, I do have some really good news, especially for World of Warships players. Let's just take a quick break for a word from today's sponsor. You're probably aware that thousands of companies are collecting, aggregating and trading your personal data without you knowing anything about it. They get this information from data brokers. Now you have the right to request data brokers delete what information they have about you and protect your privacy. The bad news is you probably don't even know who these data brokers are, and even if you did, it would take you years to do it manually. Incogni does the messy work for you. It helps you protect your privacy, take your personal data off the market by reaching out to data brokers on your behalf, demanding that they delete any data that they hold on you, dealing with their objections, and ensuring that you get added to what's known as an exclusion list, so they can't just recollect your data and use it again. All you have to do to get started is head over to incogni.com/jingles and use code JINGLES to get an exclusive offer of 60% off. Create your Incogni account, tell them whose personal data you want removed, and just let Incogni take care of the rest. They'll keep you up to date with the monthly progress report, and they continue checking any data brokers that they have contacted to ensure that they remain in compliance. So that's incogni.com/jingles, use code JINGLES at checkout, and get 60% off your Incogni plan. And so, I may as well get the really good news out of the way before we begin. So, I've been in contact with, or rather Wargaming have been in contact with me, or more specifically World of Warships has been in contact with me. And we are very pleased to be able to announce that we are once again giving away the Jingles Captain in World of Warships. And it's completely free, you don't have to actually do a mission to unlock me or anything like that. Just input the code, redeem the code at the Wargaming web portal, Jingle Bells 2024. I'll have this popping up on screen. And with that, let me just check exactly what that gets you. Heading back to my direct messages. Yeah, the code is Jingle Bells 2024, all one word. You get me as a 6-point captain, complete with all of my voice lines. You also get 10 of the new Charlie Kilo flags that replace the detonation flags. These increase the hit points of your ship by 5%. Now, if you've already got me as a captain, you can still use the code, and you'll get me again as a captain. So you can have multiple Jingles commanding your warships in the game. So that's Jingle Bells 2024. You get me as a free 6-point captain and 10 of the new Charlie Kilo flags, courtesy of Wargaming, which was really nice of them. Came completely out of the blue. They just reached out and said, "Can we do this?" I said, "Hell yeah, you can." So there you go. If you don't already have me as a captain, now you can. And if you do already have me as a captain, you can use the code anyway and get another 6-point The Mighty Jingles Captain in World of Warships. And with that, I suppose I should probably also, before we start going through the questions, make a quick announcement about exactly when it is. I'm going to be taking my annual Christmas break. We're taking a quick look at the calendar. I'm probably going to do a final episode of Mingles with Jingles on the 16th of December. And then I'll take 2 weeks and a bit off and be back on the 2nd of January, which is a Thursday. However, you all know what I'm like. I'll probably get bored within 3 days and start uploading videos again. The good thing about taking that Christmas break, though, aside from the fact that I'm under no pressure to get a video out every day, is I'm also not under any pressure to get a video out every day on a specific subject. So, it's Monday, I've got to do a Mingles with Jingles, or it's Thursday, I have to do World of Tanks. I can basically do videos on whatever interests me. So I'm probably going to be playing some new stuff over Christmas, maybe have a go with the new Stalker game, which I haven't tried yet. And you can probably expect to see some unscheduled videos on whatever takes my fancy over that 2-and-a-bit week Christmas break. Because, you know, there's absolutely no way I'm taking time off and not getting bored and doing a video anyway. And on that bombshell, let's crack straight on with the questions. And I don't know if you can hear her over the microphone, but Akazuki is getting very upset that I'm not paying any attention to her, and she's complaining very loudly in the corridor outside the recording studio. Oh well, whatever. Moving straight on. So apparently this first question is from Grumper Salty. Has there ever been an embarrassing time when you or someone else when you or someone else farted aboard any of the ships you served on, and what was the reaction of the room when it happened? That's just triggered a memory, actually. It wasn't on board a ship, but when I was in middle school, so this would have been in the 1970s, and oh my God, Akazuki's being really loud. Hopefully, well, then again, I mean, I'll say hopefully this isn't going to come out over the recording, but everybody loves it when they can hear it in the background, so whatever. So I was pretty good at maths when I was in middle school, and I was in the, there was the regular maths class, and then there was the advanced maths class, and there were about half a dozen of us at school in the advanced maths class. And I remember my teacher was called Mr. Sutherland, and because there were only half a dozen of us, we were all clustered very, very close to his desk. And I can't remember exactly what was going on. I know he wasn't talking to me specifically. One of the other kids in the class, one of the girls was up there. He was explaining a maths problem to her. And I just had an emergency fart. And it was no warning that it was coming or anything. It just ripped out. And it was extremely loud. And everybody sort of, what the hell? And I just remember Mr. Sutherland. Remember, I was about 9 years old. And he just looked at me with this look of disgust on his face and said, "You pillock." so yeah. However, on board a ship, I can't remember any one specific incident, but I do know that basically every time the ship was at action stations, and when I was a writer, I've mentioned before that my action stations jobs as a writer on board ships was usually first aid post, but occasionally, because I was a writer, I would get put into this position. It was known as ops room narrative. And this is the reason why, when you watch one of my sea power videos, I seem to know an awful lot about modern naval warfare, and more than you might expect. Somebody whose job at sea was to basically sign the checks would know, because at action, whether that was for real or for an exercise, I would be sitting in the ops room right next to the captain, because the ops room narrative's job was to record everything that happened when the ship was in action. So as well as taking position, course, and speed readings, every time a contact was detected and classified, I'm putting all of this down in a laptop. I'm recording everything, and that's how I got to know so much about what a ship actually does when it's fighting, much more than you'd expect somebody who had my job would ever really get to know. But the thing about when you're at action stations in the ops room on board a warship or combat information center if you're in the US Navy, same thing. There's a lot of people crammed in there, as well as all of the radar, the sensor and the weapons operators and the warfare officers and the captain himself and me, all of the artificers responsible for maintaining, all of the weapon engineers responsible for maintaining all of the sensors and the weapons, they're packed in there as well. And if you're there as part of an exercise, all of the exercise staff are there as well, keeping an eye on you and throwing problems at you and so on and so on. So it's not that big a room. There's about 50 people in there, and everybody's wearing anti-flash, so it's really hot and sweaty. So it starts to get a bit ripe after an hour or two, and you can't get up and go for a fart. So within half an hour, everybody's farting, and that room stinks. And of course, I'm sitting right next to the captain, and I desperately do not want to fart because I'm sitting right next to the captain. So you're sitting there squeezing it and holding it in, and then the captain lets one rip. And that's when you realise it's fine. If the captain's going to do it, you can do it as well. So thanks for Grumper for that one. Hopefully you all found that one amusing. Next question comes from Did Nothing Team. Howdy Jingles, are there any events or museums you plan on attending, visiting next year? And if so, would you still accept stroopwafels or other kind of sweets as tribute on account of the almost diabetes? Yeah, no. Well, moving on to the second part of the question, but I love stroopwafels. Stroopwafels are fantastic. They're really, really good. Fantastic with coffee, but they're too sweet. So the almost diabetes, it wasn't almost diabetes, I was diabetic. I can't remember the levels of whatever, there's something in your blood that they measure. And I think the rating goes like anything up to like 20 or 24, you're not diabetic. Anything above 24, but up to 44-ish, I think, you're pre-diabetic. So you're at risk of becoming diabetic and you need to modify your lifestyle. Anything over 44, you're diabetic. Well, when I had my blood tested, mine was at like 86, right? So I was extremely diabetic. But I instantly changed my lifestyle habits. I cut sugar out of everything. Stopped putting sugar in my coffee. I used sweetener instead. Stopped eating chocolate. I started actually looking at the nutrition labels of food. And if there was more than 2% sugar in it, nope, eat something else. And so within 3 months, I got my levels down from 86 to, I think it was 40, which is still higher than it should be, but you're not officially diabetic anymore. The thing is, you have to maintain that. You have to keep that lifestyle going. And so I would love to have a couple of stroopwafels with coffee, but no, I can't do it. I haven't touched chocolate in any shape or form. I haven't had a donut. I haven't had a chocolate eclair in 6 months. And I do feel a lot better for it. And honestly, if I had something with sugar now, it would probably be too sweet because I've just gotten used to not eating sweet things. So yeah, sorry about that. As for, are there any events or museums I'm planning on attending? Not planning on anything. I was supposed to go to, I think it was Cosford, the Royal Air Force Museum this year with my friend Roy, up in the Black Country. But I fell sick like the day before. I ended up with a flu, so I never went. We might schedule that again for this year. Next year. No time left for this year. But yeah, for 2025. So we're not planning anything, but that doesn't mean we're not going to do anything. And no thank you as far as the stroopwafels are concerned. I didn't even know they existed until some Dutch subscribers from the Netherlands, well, obviously they're from the Netherlands if they're Dutch, came over and gifted me some at Tankfest, and I was hooked instantly. And of course, from that point on, every time somebody from the Netherlands came to see me at an event, they always brought stroopwafels. Honestly, I had like a year's supply of stroopwafels from just one Tankfest. It was great, but I can't eat them anymore. Well, anyway, moving on. Next question from Cool Geek 96. Jingles, are you coming to Tankfest next year? I'm hoping to make the trip from New Zealand. I'm not planning on it, no. I'm really sorry about that. I did actually, it's amazing how many people do, come over from New Zealand for Tankfest. I can remember, I think it was the one where I turned up in my Panzerwaffe outfit, which Wargaming thought was SS and asked me to leave their display because they couldn't tell the difference. And there was a couple of people who come all the way over from New Zealand. But no, I'm not actually planning it. Don't get me wrong, Tankfest is amazing. But when you've been a dozen times, you've pretty much seen everything, aside from the guest vehicles that they bring out every year. But it's kind of different for me because I can't go to just enjoy the show because I get recognised. Somebody shouts Jingles, and then I'm there for the next 3 hours shaking hands. And you'd be surprised how much shaking hands for 3 hours actually begins to hurt after the first hour or so. And I'm just getting too old for that kind of shit as well. So I have no plans to go to Tankfest. But if you are going, it's definitely worth it, especially if you've never been before. I mean, even if it's not Tankfest, just going to the Tank Museum when there's nothing on is an amazing experience. And if you go in there and it's Tankfest at the same time, you're guaranteed to have a fantastic time. But I've got no plans to do it again next year, sorry. Next question comes from H. He says, hello, mighty gnome overlord. I have but a simple and rather selfish request this first fine of the month. The first of the month. Reading is hard. I was wondering if you're pointing towards a good model tank brand, as I know you're somewhat of a collector of models. And I was hoping to acquire one for my grandfather for Christmas. Mind you, I live in Canada, so if you know it's UK local, I'm afraid that won't be an option for me. Much love from overseas and happy holidays to my favourite and only gnome overlord, Tamiya. Get any Tamiya kit. There are other brands that have some very, very good kits, but they also have some very, very bad kits. And unless you do a bit of research beforehand, you're not going to know which is which. But I don't think Tamiya have ever produced a bad kit. And in particular, their Panther D kit is, if you look at any videos on YouTube of which kits to get, what are the best kits to get, Tamiya's Panther D is always included in the list. It's an old kit and it is amazingly good. It's not too difficult to put together, and everything fits. You have to do very, very little filing and sanding and cutting and snipping in order to get the bits together, not like a Revel kit. You know, it just works. So any kit from Tamiya, but particularly their Panther kit, you can't go wrong with it. Next question from Radogian. Greetings, Emperor Jingles. Oh, I've been promoted. I've been attempting to send you replays via email. However, I'm unsure if they're being sent to your spam folder. I recently had a game in the Rhode Island in which I got over 3,000. Whoa, 3,000 base XP, and I'd hate for you not to see it. Is there any way to tell if you're getting them? P.S. Would you ever want to serve in a submarine, and if so, which one? Okay, we'll come to the second part of the question first. Here's the issue. I get a lot of emails, and I cannot possibly check the replays in every single video email that I get sent. If you want to increase your chances of my noticing your message, you need to edit the title. Don't just say World of Warships replay. Attach your replay, and then in the body of the message type what happens. Put it in the title, like 3,000 base XP Rhode Island. That will stand out. And I'm much more likely to actually, okay, I'll check this one out, because I can't check out all of the emails that I get every day. I just get too many. So you need to make your particular message stand out from the crowd. And that's the best way to do it. As for the second part of your question, would I ever want to serve in a submarine? And if so, which one? Hell no. You've got to be kidding. Oh, no. I was quite happy to serve in the surface fleet. I mean, I understand that your chances of... you know, if the shit ever does hit the fan in a major way, it's probably safer to be on a submarine. But, I mean, if I'm on a frigate or a destroyer and it gets hit, I've got a fighting chance. You know, that some time is going to elapse before it actually sinks. I can get off it, and I don't require any special equipment in order to do that. The same is not true if you're in a submarine. No, sorry, screw that. Submariners get paid a lot more than regular sailors, and they earn every penny of it. Because the job they do, no. There's no way you couldn't force me to serve on a submarine. Well, actually, technically, they could have forced me to serve on a submarine. Because when I signed up to join the Navy as a radio operator, they could have decided, instead of being a radio operator... general or tactical, I could have been what's known as a ROSM, radio operator submariner, and they could have put me into the submariners class instead of, you know, when they did. So fortunately they didn't, because I remember when I was in training at Kelly Squadron at HMS Mercury, which has long since shut down. That's when The Abyss came out, the James Cameron movie, and we're watching it on VHS in our mess, and there's the bit at the beginning where I can't remember the name of the US Navy submarine. But they get hit by the bow wave of the alien. Alien's not really the right word, but the unidentified submersible object that's going past at like 300 knots, and they get hit by the bow wave and smashed into the side of the canyon, the underwater canyon that they're sailing through. And there's that scene where, because the nose gets crumpled in and the water comes in under massive pressure, and there's just this huge wall of water rushing the entire length of the ship. And I thought, right, as soon as this video's finished, I'm taking this over to the submariners mess and making them watch it.
Thank you.
They were not happy. But no, hell no, you couldn't make me get on board a submarine if you tried. The submariners, they get paid very, very... I think at the time they were getting an extra £10 a day, submariners pay, and they could keep it. You couldn't pay me enough to get on board one of those things. No thanks. Next question from Marcius Fox. Aloha to the Right Honourable Rear Admiral Jingles. Oh, I've been busted down from Emperor to Rear Admiral again. Okay, fair enough. Two simple questions, though possibly deeply thought-provoking. Of all the naval traditions in the Royal Navy, which was your least liked that you'd like to see gone? And which naval tradition would you like to see implemented in a game which hasn't been done? Where practical, of course. Ooh, naval traditions. What was my least liked?
I don't normally travel this far.
I don't think... I mean, yeah, obviously the Royal Navy's been around a long time. Since King Alfred the Great, it's like 1,000 years old. There's a lot of traditions that accumulate in that length of time.
And it's hard to find work.
And I can't think of a single one that wasn't fun in one way or another.
That's what I'm looking
I mean,
for.
you've got the famous ones like the crossing the
Work for
line
a
ceremony
little boy to raise.
when you cross the equator. And I've talked about this before. I'm not going to go into huge detail. But it's the last official initiation ceremony that exists. I think the US Navy still do it. But because basically anybody who hasn't crossed the equator, oh, well, they're in for a rough day.
He said he'd provide room and
King
board
Neptune
for
comes
me
aboard.
and my
It's not
child.
actually King Neptune,
He
it's the
wanted to meet
senior
me first.
non-commissioned rating on board. Usually the master at arms, or
Dismiss
but they
all
dress up.
suspects.
Everybody, these costumes come out of nowhere. Everybody's got all these costumes. You've got King Neptune, you've got the mermaids, you've got the bears, you've got the bears go around. It's always the senior chief petty officers to every mess deck. All right, fellas, lights out, and it's a free for all. Everybody, fists out. Lights out, of course, so nobody can officially say, yeah, Chief Petty Officer Collins punched me, because you can't tell who it was who punched you, because the lights are out. But you're entitled to fight back as well. The good thing about being in the mess deck that I was in, the logistics mess is right at the back end of the ship on a Type 42. So we were literally the last mess deck they come to, and they're all there in their what they call the woolly bear suits, the compressed wool firefighting suits, because they're the bears. And they'd already fought every mess deck in the ship before they got to us. By the time they got to us, they were just not interested anymore. They were all beaten up, black eyes, bloody noses. It was like, all right, fellas, let's get this over with, because the heart really wasn't in it. So we got off kind of easy. But that sort of thing, yeah, it was fine. It was all done in good humour. So I can't think of a single Royal Navy tradition that I didn't like and I would like to see gone. I think they're all fantastic. Which naval tradition would you like to see implemented in a game which hasn't been done? Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to have to think about that, because it's implemented in a game. So stuff like the crossing the line ceremony, how are you going to put that in World of Warships? Or pulling easies and practical jokes on people who are new and they've never been on a ship before and this is their first sea draft. How are you going to implement those into World of Warships? It's a good question, but I'd really struggle to think about that. Because there's all kinds of naval traditions. Like I said, I think they're all fantastic to one degree or another. There's none that I didn't like.
Thank you for all your help.
But putting them into a game, it's certainly something that's like World of Warships, where it's not really about the crew, it's about the ships. Be extremely difficult to do. But something like, I don't know, maybe battle stations, well, no, even then. I mean, they're all about the ships. They're all about the machines rather than the crews. So that would be something that would be extremely difficult to do. And I have absolutely no idea how you go about it. Anyway, next one from Basement Jesus. Dear Jingles, have you ever watched any Warhammer 40k films? If not, I highly suggest the Starties or Hellreach. Yes, I've seen them both. They are amazing. I think the entire internet has seen the Starties by now. The production value on that. I mean, all done by one guy. It took him like a year to do the whole series. There were 4 videos, each getting a little bit longer, but none of them longer than 4 or 5 minutes. But even without a script, they had a script, but even without any dialogue, just the way it was shot and filmed and modelled, you could tell exactly what was going on without a single word of dialogue being spoken. And it was just incredible. But the first one that I saw was actually Hell's Reach, which the whole thing, I think, put together, probably comes to about 4 or 6 hours of video. The whole thing's up there on YouTube, and it's astonishingly good. And there is dialogue in this, because you probably could do 4 hours of just video, but it would be really, really hard work. But the voice acting is just incredible. There's a single squad of Marines assigned to, the Orcs have infested this planet, and they're attacking the city, and this one squad of Marines have been tasked with the defence. And it's not just them, obviously, there's thousands and thousands of Imperial Guard, but the Marines are in charge, plugging the line, and when the shit's getting the hardest, that's where the Marines are, shoring up the defences, and they're trying to buy time for their tech Marine to reactivate this super weapon. It's just an amazing story. I mean, there's one part where there's a Titan, and the Titan pilot is dying, and the Marine chaplain basically orders her to not die. And it works. Just the power of his will gets this Titan back up on its feet and fight. It's just an amazing story. But yeah, those two, if you haven't seen them, and I suspect most of the internet has probably seen the Starties by now, because it's fantastic and it's an easy watch. The whole thing's probably no more than 8 to 10 minutes long. But if you like that, definitely do a YouTube search and watch Hell's Reach as well, because it's equally amazing in its own way. How are we doing for time? Oh, loads of time left. Let's move on to the next question from Volker802. Good morning, old man. Have you seen what's upcoming for Elite Dangerous? I have, actually. He says, oh, you're planning to get back into it? I might, actually, yeah. Colonization. Colonization is coming. And all kinds of new ships as well. Like the Mark V version of the Cobra. And there's another new ship, I think, that's just been introduced. But, they're the first new ships to be introduced into the game in years. And after a very, very disappointing expansion in Odyssey, which was plagued with technical issues and just... The Odyssey was the expansion where you could actually get out of your ship and walk around on the surface of airless planets, obviously in a spacesuit. But it turned out there wasn't actually an awful lot to do once you got out of your ship. But this is looking really good. The whole idea is to expand what they call the bubble, which is colonized space. So you can buy a claim for a star system, and then you've got a limited amount of time to get to that star system, put a satellite up, and get the supplies to the planet that you want to colonize, and establish your claim, and then develop the colony. And it's looking really, really cool. And I'm probably 95% going to... A lot of this comes down to how much free disk space I have. Believe it or not, I've got a 2 terabyte SSD. And recently, I mean, I've cleared up a lot of space recently because Star Wars Outlaws is gone. Although I have reinstalled Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm playing that again at the moment. And I'm not even following the plot or any of the story missions. I will spend hours in that game. I would do this in Cyberpunk 2077 as well. Not doing missions, but just wandering around, seeing stuff and hunting and looking at wildlife and just living in the world rather than following any of the missions. And I will spend like happily 6 hours a day just doing that, just hunting stuff, completing challenges and completely ignoring the story. But it's kind of, like I said, limited by exactly how much free disk space I have. Because recently I was running down to my last 60 gigabytes of disk space with all the stuff that I had installed that I was doing videos on. Thankfully, that situation is not as bad because, like I said, I've gotten rid of stuff like Space Marine 2, Star Wars Outlaws, which freed up a shit ton of disk space. So I now actually have the space to reinstall Elite, which is 10 years old now, by the way. Remember, this thing was announced after Star Citizen, got published before, obviously before Star Citizen, and is now on to its third expansion before Star Citizen even has its single-player story campaign now. Wow. So yes, I'm almost certainly going to get back into that, and it's probably one of those things that you might expect to see, depending on when. I mean, I'm not sure what the timescale is. It's almost certainly not coming out in the next 2 weeks, so you're not going to see any Christmas break videos from me on Elite Dangerous. But it's definitely something I'm keeping an eye on, and I'm almost certainly going to be playing. So, moving on to the next question. From Mystery Mighty Overlord. When will we get a new World of Warplanes video? Not as long as my arse points downwards. Don't get me wrong, I liked what they did with, this must have been 5 years ago now, when they completely redid World of Warplanes. And that's the thing, all they had to do was make it enjoyable. It didn't have to be amazing, didn't have to be great, it just had to not be shit. And with the initial release of World of Warplanes, they failed at that. And then a couple of years later, they said, yeah, this clearly isn't working. So they pulled it, redid it from more or less from scratch. And it wasn't great. It wasn't particularly good. But it was at least not shit anymore and kind of fun. But not fun enough to keep my attention for longer than an hour or two. So they did a reasonable job rejigging the game. But yeah, no, I'm not doing any more World of Warplanes videos. What was that World of Warplanes video I did? Because I did one World of Warplanes video. They hated me at Wargaming for this. Let me have a quick look. I'm just going to do a quick search for Mighty Jingles. See how many views that thing had. World of Warplanes. And videos. World of Warplanes with the mighty Jingles. Yeah, this was the one I published after the non-disclosure agreement had been lifted. Oh, it's got a... This was the old video. And it's got 1.2 million views. That's 1.2 million people who found out from me just how shit World of Warplanes was on release. Oh well. Hey, sorry, not sorry. It is what it is, you know. It was a crap game, and I wasn't afraid to say so. It didn't earn me many friends at Wargaming because of it, but hey, the truth's the truth. Next question from Baran Akatsuki. Good morning, Jingles. Greetings from Eindhoven. Oh, been there. Nice place. The Netherlands. My questions. Do you have any hope left for another great Assassin's Creed game such as Odyssey? No, I don't. I'll expand on that in a second, because he has another question. Do you think they'll make a cyberpunk prequel with you playing as Johnny Silverhand during his life and all that went on at that time, Bart Moss, the corporate wars, etc., or a sequel with V surviving and having a new enemy like Mr. Blue Eyes and the Rogue AIs? There's all kinds of great ideas there that they could do, and I hope they do, because I loved Cyberpunk 2077. I mean, I appreciate it had its issues on launch, but most of those issues weren't on PC. It never should have been released on console. Certainly not the fourth generation consoles. Fourth gen? Whatever. Not the PlayStation 4 and so on. Even on PS5 and whatever the current Xbox at the time was, there were issues, but it ran absolutely fine for me on PC. Yes, you needed a powerful PC. Yes, there were still things that were wrong with it and you know, could be improved. And yes, a lot of stuff that they promised that was going to be in the game ended up getting cut. But it was still an amazing game. And they kept working on it, and then 2 years, then Phantom Liberty came out, and holy shit, that was amazing. And I would love to see CD Projekt Red do more with that license. All the stuff that he suggested here, playing as Johnny Silverhand, the sequel with V surviving, Mr. Blue Eyes, the almost 100% guaranteed rogue AI, although never confirmed in the game. It would be just amazing. Are they going to do it? Oh, I really, really hope so. But I don't know. It's like when I finished playing the second Horizon. What was the first one? Horizon Zero Dawn was the first. Horizon Forbidden West was the second one. Because they left it on a cliffhanger. And you absolutely knew that they were going to do a third game to tie up the loose ends at the end of the second game. But it wasn't like that with Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk had a definite ending. In fact, it had about 8 or 9 definite endings. You know, it wasn't like Mass Effect 3, where you just choose the colour of your ending. All of the different endings in Cyberpunk. And then even more when they introduced Phantom Liberty, because there were a number of different ways the game could end right there, just in Phantom Liberty. But there were endings, so there's no obvious thing for them to continue, except for maybe, as he said, expanding on one of the endings where he survived. But yeah, I mean, whatever they do, I know it's going to be great because it's CD Projekt Red. Although, I know I'm not entirely sure what it is exactly they're focusing on at the moment. They're doing a new Witcher game, aren't they? Or something like that? I'm not sure. I probably shouldn't be talking about this because I don't really know. And I'm likely to be digging myself into a home. But it doesn't really matter what CD Projekt Red do next. I know I'm going to be playing it because they never do anything that isn't great. But his first question, do you have any hope left for another great Assassin's Creed game? No, not at all. There hasn't been a great Assassin's Creed game since Odyssey. The ones since then have been... Well, actually, what was the last Assassin's Creed game? Because I'll keep thinking, oh yeah, what about Far Cry 5? What about Far Cry 5 I thought was good. Far Cry 6, it's one of the worst games I've ever played, but it was bad enough to be funny, and therefore entertaining and amusing in that way, but not because it was good. But what was the last Assassin's Creed game? I'm having a massive brain fart here, I honestly can't think. Let me have a quick look at chat, see what people are saying. Somebody's probably reminding me. Come on, chat. What? What? Assassin's Creed... The one in Japan. That's the next one. Seriously, there hasn't been an Assassin's Creed game since Odyssey. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the next one. Holy shit. I guess they've just been focusing on somebody saying Mirage. Well, I don't even know what Mirage was. So, yeah. So much for that idea. Let me just quickly get back to the questions channel. But the amount of... The thing is, Assassin's Creed Shadows is so far along in its development cycle now that there's no way they can fundamentally change it. And what they have developed isn't looking good. They've managed to upset basically all of Japan for the way they're treating Japanese culture. I mean, they're doing basic stuff wrong, like putting Chinese architecture in Japan, because apparently they can't tell the difference. It's just... No, I have no great expectations whatsoever for another good Assassin's Creed game, which is a shame because Assassin's Creed has been one of the best game series ever. But that all ended with Odyssey, and I'm 100% sure that Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be an embarrassing shit show and may spell the end for Ubisoft. You know, Ubisoft, when did they release Skull and Bones? Was it this year? Early this year? The Skull and Bones was just a disaster. The first quadruple A title. Basically a cut-down version of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, just not as good. We'll do a pirate game, but they cut out all of the pirate bits. All of the boarding and the looting and the pillaging. They're just, the stuff that makes it a pirate game as opposed to just a naval combat game, they cut out and then they released it as a pirate game with no pirating in it. Unbelievable. Where was I going with this? Stop getting old sucks, kids. You get halfway through a conversation and then you forget what it was you were talking about. Oh yeah. Assassin's Creed Shadows. They've no, it's gone. This is what happens when you get old. You get halfway through a conversation, then you completely forget what it was you were talking about. Let me refresh the question. Where is it? Blah blah blah. Da, da, da. I'm going to have to edit this out. People don't realise how shit I am. Any hope left for another great... Oh, yeah, that was it. Yeah, this is probably going to be the end of Ubisoft. That was it, because they actually released an NFT game this year. Did you know that? You know what NFTs are, right? Yeah, non-fungible tokens. There was a craze back like 2 years ago when very, very stupid people were buying these things. Like Snoop Dogg would do a 40 by 40 pixel PNG and it would sell for $60,000 because it was tied to... There was only ever one copy of it because it was all tied to the blockchain. So it couldn't be... Well, it could be replicated, but you couldn't replicate the ownership of it. And everybody, well, not everybody, lots and lots of extremely stupid people thought that this was the next big thing. And all kinds of gaming publishers, the studios were trying to get on board. This, we've had microtransactions, we've had loot boxes. There's another way we can screw money out of people. We'll do games based around NFTs. But when even Electronic Arts is backing out and saying, no, this is a stupid idea, Ubisoft wouldn't take the hint. And they actually had an NFT game published this year. You probably never heard of it. I can't remember what it was called, but you can Google it. Let me just do a quick Google. Let's have a quick look. Ubisoft NFT game. Yeah, here it is. There's a... Ubisoft just quietly launched a full-blown NFT game. It's called Champions Tactics Grimoria Chronicles. You could be surprised for having... Or you could be forgiven for having never heard of it, because they did no marketing whatsoever. It's like they knew it was going to fail, but they published it anyway. And it was getting hacked within a week of coming out, where you would earn currency within game by having people fight your champions. And there were two people who managed to hack the game, so that anytime you tried to play, you would only ever fight them. So within like a day, they were at the top of the leaderboard. This was within a week of the game coming out. And the idea is that you collect these figurines to battle with. So it's kind of like collecting champions, and it's almost like a card game. But they are literally, they're like Warhammer 40k models, like Space Marine models. Like they're literally just little figurines, and it's an embarrassment of a title. And they're because they're NFTs, they're all tied to you individually. So it's just like 2 years after the NFT bubble burst, and Ubisoft thought, after the horrific failure of Skull and Bones, the underwhelming performance of Star Wars Outlaws, they thought it was a good idea to release an NFT game. They are so completely out of touch with reality, it just beggars description. So I have absolutely no faith whatsoever in the success of Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's way too long in the development cycle now for them to reverse any of the undoubtedly terrible decisions that they've made. It's going to crash and burn, and it, based on the fact that they've lost 75% of their stock value in the last 4 years, almost certainly going to kill the company and take it down with them. So I certainly won't be spending any money on it. And I'm not telling you not to spend any money on it, but I am saying do not pre-order, wait for the reviews to come out, and then make your own mind up. But it's almost certainly going to be shit. Next question from Tank50 US. Wow, holy shit. He always publishes an essay, but here we go. Yes, Bandicam is working. I tested it twice. Second, an M1 update. Oh, yes, of course, he's restoring an M1 Garand. The barrel that you originally ordered turned out to be 13 thousandths of an inch out of battery. Oh, you've got to be kidding. The same gunsmith determined the barrel that was originally in it was 15 thousandths of an inch out of battery, and thus at risk of exploding in his face. He's already sourced another new barrel that's actually too long that can be filed down to fit. I've also gone ahead and slid in a new bolt, so the new barrel will be milled to fit the new bolt instead of the old one. So, yeah, that's the update on his M1 Garand. You need to send us some pictures of that when it's finally up and running, or video, whatever. But down to his actual questions. Would you be willing to play user-submitted missions in Sea Power? Oh, hell yes. Oh, and he's actually linked one here. I'm going to grab that right now. This does allow others to try the mission out and gives those who are here for the live Q&A a bit of a bonus for attending. So if you are here in the live Q&A, you can head into the Jingles Questions for Jingles channel and see Tank50 US's question. And if you do play Sea Power, because you can, I mean, there's the mission editor with the game, you can create your own missions. You can play his mission there. So I'm going to download that. Clicking on it right now. Gotcha. And I'll try that out later. Second question, would you ever consider getting an axolotl? They're the closest thing we have to real life Nix. Oh, yeah. Are those things real? I thought they were like a Mexican, not Mexican, some kind of South American mythical creature like a centaur or whatever. I mean, yeah, sure. but I don't even know if they're real, so I haven't actually considered getting one. But Nix, of course, he's talking about the companion character in Star Wars Outlaws, which is the best thing in the game. Nix was amazing. Third question, seeing as you're into Sims, would you like to see the Discord come together and perform simulated missions on land? Oh, so he's talking about suggested name, Salt Mines Defence Force, on land in Armour 3 or Reforger. At sea, Sea Power Cold Waters, in the air, Digital Combat Simulator, nuke options. He's listing all the type of games here that are available. And in space, Elite Dangerous or Star Citizen. Actually, the Discord manager, so Grumpy Salty, he would do stuff like this because he's got a fleet carrier in Elite, and he would do expeditions out to Colonia and the outer rim of the galaxy. There is stuff like that does happen within the Salt Mine Discord server, just not very often. But yeah, certainly, I think it'd be fantastic if people would come together and do simulated missions. Like, I don't know if you ever watched, we're just talking about Digital DCS World, for example, but there's a YouTube channel called the Grim Reapers, and they're a group of guys that do, primarily it was DCS World, where they would set up what-if scenarios and then see if they would work using DCS World. Very, very good videos. And now they're doing the same thing in Sea Power. So yeah, there's absolutely no reason why you can't go ahead and organise all this sort of stuff. In fact, I'd encourage you to do so, because it can often be a lot of fun. Let's check how we're doing for time. Oh, okay, we're going to have to start wrapping things up here. Dobby NA, did someone check to make sure our Gnome Overlord is recording? Yes, one of the moderators thought he was being funny before I started recording. That has been checked numerous times, don't worry. Dusty, hello Jingles, yes, I'm recording. Oh my god, this meme's never going to die, is it? I've recently repurchased a replacement balisong or butterfly knife for something to fiddle with when sitting at my desk. Which made me wonder, do you have any such items around your desk? Something you find yourself picking up occasionally when you don't need your hands on the keyboard and mouse? I don't, actually. Because I've usually got cats sitting next to me, all sitting on my keyboard or mouse. So if I find myself needing something to do with my hands while I'm waiting for something to happen in a game that I'm playing or a video I'm recording, I'll just turn around and pet one of the cats. But yeah, butterfly knife, do you do the whole... This is one of those things where if you're not seeing me doing it, it's difficult to explain. But you see people flick these butterfly knives around and do things with it. I can imagine that'd be quite therapeutic. But no, I don't have anything like that because I do have 2 cats. Although at the moment, none of them are within eyesight, which is deeply suspicious. They're up to something. I'll need to go and check. But usually I've got... Oh, no. Juicy's in the room. She's asleep in the other chair in front of the modelling station. That's her favourite place. It's covered in ginger cat fur. used to be black at one point, and now it's sort of beigey, browny, gingery, because that's Juicy's favourite spot. But generally speaking, yeah, if I need something to do with my hands while I'm busy at the computer, I just turn around and pet one of the cats. And I think I'm going to have to call it there, unfortunately, because we're now basically 3/4 of an hour in, and I need to get this turned into a video. So, once again, thank you to everybody who turned up. Thanks for the questions. Some really good questions this week. Don't forget, World of Warships, Jingle Bells 2024, all one word. You get me as a 6-point captain, and you also get a bunch of the new flags that replace the detonation flags, because detonation is no longer a thing that happens in World of Warships. And the new flags that increase the hit points of your ship by 5%. So that's Jingle Bells. Oh, I'm going to need to check this, make sure I get it right. It's had my direct messages, because that's the sort of thing I do, isn't it? I give you the wrong information. Oh, it is Jingle Bells 2024, all one word, redeem it at the Wargaming Centre. You get me as a 6-point captain and 10 of the new Charlie Kilo flags. And if you're here for the live Q&A, thanks for turning up. Thanks for your questions. And if you're watching this as an episode of Mingles with Jingles, hope you enjoyed it. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.